Hi everyone, my name is Claudine Lam and I work at SAP. In this video, I will walk you through the steps necessary to create a BEX query, along with creating a calculated key figure and creating a restricted key figure within the Business Explorer Query Designer. The Query Designer is an independent desktop application for defining queries. You would typically create a BEX query as an output for end-user reporting. With BEX connection, these queries can be consumed by business objects front-end tools such as Analysis, Office or OLAP versions, Design Studio, Webby, Crystal Reports, and Dashboard Designer. To access the Query Designer, we will go to our Start menu, click on All Programs, go to Business Explorer, and then select Query Designer. You're going to be prompted to select a BW system. So let's double click on our sandbox. I'm going to enter in my password. Click OK. So now what should happen is my Business Explorer Query Designer page will appear blank. Just going to maximize it here. The first step to creating a query is going to be to select an info provider. So I'm just going to click the new query icon at the top left. I have three different options once I click this icon. I can use the find function. So in this tab, what you can do is actually search by description of an info provider or search in a technical name. Then you have your history, which is anything that you've selected previously when building other queries, or you can search by info area. In this example, I'm just going to use a multi-provider that is in my history, so I'm going to just select actual and planned multi-provider and then click open. Once I hit open, on my left panel, it's now showing me a list of key figures and dimensions. Within these dimensions are characteristics that I can use in this query. Beside that is my characteristic restrictions. Here's where I'm going to define restrictions that apply to the entire result set. In my default value pane, I'm going to select default values that the user can use to modify these filters. In the default values pane, I'm going to select characteristics which can be used in the initial view of the result set. On the far right, I have my properties. If I do this drop down here, these are going to be my global query properties. So I have different available tabs, some being variable sequencing. So if you have multiple variables within your query, you can sequence them. Displays, if you want to hide or repeated key values. There's many different settings that you can provide here. One of the most important ones would be in this advanced tab. If you are creating this query to be consumed by a business objects front-end tool, you will have to select this allow external access to this query checkbox. So now let's start defining our query. So I'm going to go to the second tab, which is the rows and columns. There's a section here for free characteristics. Free characteristics is a section where you want to put in characteristics to offer the user for navigation purposes. So they won't appear in the initial view when you run the report, but they will be available for filtering or drill downs. So in this case, I'm going to bring in my country and my division as free characteristics. The second area is columns. So what do we want to put in our column? So in this case, I'm going to put open order quantity key figure in my columns. And then within my rows, I'm going to put in some characteristics for my customer. I want to see my open orders by sold to customer and ship to party. Now in this fourth section here, you see a preview. So this just gives you an idea of what your report is going to look like once you run it. So for these characteristics in my rows, I want to define some properties. So for my sold to party, in my display properties, I want to make sure that I can see my key and my text, as well as for my ship to party. So for both of these items, I'm going to select key and text. You can actually highlight both of them using your shift key and then define this key and text for both at the same time, or if you have multiple, you can do that as well. And now for my key figure, I also want to change some of the display settings. So I'm going to click on Open Order Quantity. I'm going to select Display, and I want to change the number of decimal places. So in this case, I don't want to see any decimal places, so I'm going to change the drop down to 0. My next step in defining this query is going to be to create a calculated key figure that adds together my product cost and my transport cost to create a key figure called total costs, and then restrict it so that I can separate my budget cost versus my actual cost. So first I'll start off by creating a calculated key figure. To do this, I'm going to right-click the calculated key figures folder in my left panel, select New Calculated Key Figure. An icon will appear with a new calculated key figure underlined in red. You'll notice at the bottom that there's some errors and warnings. This is just letting me know that I haven't defined my new calculation yet. So I'm going to right click it and select Edit. I'm going to get a pop-up window and I'm going to provide a description. So this one is going to be called Total Cost. And provide a technical name. And then within the detail view, I'm actually going to define my calculation. So in this case, I'm going to say that my product cost plus my transport costs equals my total costs. You'll notice that I've turned on the technical names for these characteristics and key figures within the whole query. I did that by clicking this icon here, technical name. So you can toggle between just the technical name, the description, both the technical name and the description, and vice versa. So I'm going to keep the technical name and description, and I'm going to select OK. So now I have a key figure for my total costs. And I actually want to restrict that key figure so that I can define my plan versus actual. So I'm going to right-click Restricted Key Figures and say New Restricted Key Figure. Again, I'm going to get a underlined red New Restricted Key Figure. I have to edit it. And then here I'm going to say Total Costs Plan. And provide a technical name. So within the details of the selection, I'm going to select my calculated key figure that I just created, drag that into my selections. Then I'm going to go down to my dimensions, find my version characteristic, bring that in, right-click it, restrict, and it's bringing up my history. So what I want to do is go into single values. There's other options, so you can select a value range or a variable. In this case, I want to select a single value and I want my plan. So I'm going to bring that into the chosen selections area and I'm going to click OK. Just as a note, in this chosen selection area, if you wanted to see everything except for plan, you could actually click plan in the selection side and then click this red icon, and that would exclude plan but include everything else. But in this case, we only want to include plan. So I'm going to click OK, and then I'm going to click OK again. I'm going to repeat these steps for my actual. So I'm going to do a new restricted key figure. You can right-click edit or you can double-click it. I'm going to say total cost for actual. I'm going to change my technical name again. Again, I'm going to define my selection, bring my version, restrict my version, and this time in my history I already have actual, so I'm going to select actual and just bring it over to chosen selections and click OK. And click OK again. So now I have these restricted key figures that I can bring into my query. So I'm going to drag and drop them into my columns. Bring in my total cost for actual and my total cost for budget. The last thing I want to do for this query is actually to create a filter or a restriction to only provide data for the year 2012 and allow the user a variable so that they can enter in what if they want to see a month. So the first thing I'm going to do is click on the filter tab. I'm going to look for my year, so it would be under time. So I'm going to select calendar year and drag it into my characteristic restrictions. So this is global for the whole query. So I'm going to right click it and select restrict. In my history I already have 2012, but if I wanted a different year I would select single values. If I wanted a value range, if I wanted to look at 2010 to 2012, I could do that as well. In this case I'm going to say I only want to look at 2012 data. So I'm going to select 2012, bring it into my chosen selections, and click OK. Now I want to create a prompt so that the users can select a calendar year month. So I'm going to bring that in. I'm going to right click it. I'm going to select restrict again. And this time I'm going to say show me the variables. So that we already have some predefined variables. So I want to allow my users to be able to select a single value for a calendar year month. So I'm going to bring this one over and I'm going to click OK. Now what's going to happen is when an end user runs this report, a pop-up will come up and they will be able to select a specific month of data to look at. Now I'm ready to save the report, and all I have to simply do is click the save icon at the top left. I'll be prompted to enter in a description and a technical name. And sometimes there are some naming conventions provided already. Sometimes it's the info provider and then a query number, or you can provide a simple name. So this one is forecast versus budget for costs. And then click the save icon. This query is now ready to be consumed, but with a Bix connection in Business Objects front-end tools, or can be run with Bex Analyzer or Bex through NetWeaver portal. Thank you.